Hello fellas, it's been a while and I haven't recorded in some time because I couldn't find a cool subject to talk about, and it's been a couple months, right? But anyway, today we're here with a really cool subject that I came across when I was listening for the first time to Ringo, the 1973 album in vinyl. Um, this is a great album. I think it's Ringo's best. I think nobody would disagree with it. Let me know in the comments what you think Ringo's best album is. But anyway, this album is really curious. It has a curious thing, that is that the four Beatles appear and they all play a part in the recording of that album. And it's kind of like a Cold War, right? Where Paul, John, and George gave Ringo songs, and they contributed to the songs, of course, by composing them and also playing and recording them. So let's take a look here at the three songs I picked. I think it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna tell you guys a little bit of the backstory behind the songs, and also I'm gonna give you my straight out opinion about it. Okay, sorry if my English is a bit cumbersome today, but I'm tired. It's kind of late here. Anyway, opening the album, we have I'm the Greatest, and I've got some notes here. I'm the Greatest, it's John's song, and I think it's a classic John song. You're gonna notice that in all three songs I think are classic songs of their composer. Paul, John, and George came up with classic tunes that you just listen to them once and you're, well, of course, this is John, right? Or this is George, this is Paul. So I'm the Greatest is totally John. It's got a lot of irony about the Beatles. So actually, I'm the Greatest is a sentence from Muhammad Ali, and it all boils down to a Hard Day's Night. John was watching the film on TV after the Beatles breakup, and he also remembered how they met Muhammad Ali back then when they were recording A Hard Day's Night. So it's all about that time, and there's a lot of references to the Beatles, and John loves to do that. He always references the Beatles. I think it's fun when he does that. He mentions Billy Shears. Ringo sings he's Billy Shears. He's been for so many years, and he also mentions that he was on the greatest show on earth, which I think is one of those rare occasions where John, even maybe not necessarily wanting to, but he's praising the Beatles, right? He's saying, you know what, we were actually great. Although this was an irony, right? The song was ironic. And this track counts with the Beatles, right? But they're not the Beatles from Anthology. It's Ringo on drums and vocal, John on piano and backing vocal, and George on the guitar. Solo guitar too. I love his solo. I think it fits with the song. It's got a heavy vibe to it. It's great, really. I think George in '73 was a much better guitarist than when he was at the Beatles, right? He grew as a guitarist. Also, Klaus Voormann and Billy Preston play on it, which means that we have a classic Beatles solo lineup, right? Anyway, I like this song, I really do. It's a classic John song again. Its instrumentation is maybe what holds it back to me. I understand what they try to do. They try to do something different, and that's John, right? John loves to do that, but I think something's missing there. I love the song. I would put it in 9 out of 10 maybe, but it could be a 10, right? I just think the instrumentation is not the best it could be, right? So yeah, this is I'm the Greatest. I think this would be in my third place. I think John takes the third spot. Number 2 is 6 O'Clock by Paul McCartney, and that song is the least known song of all the 3 songs I'm going to mention. But I love it, and to be honest, I'd already heard 6 O'Clock before, but I just really paid attention to it when listening for the first time to my Ringo pressing, which I recently acquired. And just a classic Paul and Wings song, right? Classic. You really notice it's Paul again. It's that ballady thing that he loves to do, and it reminds me of Red Rose Speedway, which makes sense because Paul had just completed Red Rose Speedway, and the story of that song is kind of cute because John and George were closer to Ringo at that time because Paul had all that trouble with suing the other Beatles, and the breakup was really tough on Paul and his relationship with the other guys. So he wasn't that close to Ringo at that time. But they were kind of trying to get back together and talk more and stuff. And Ringo basically came to Paul and said, you know what, John has already given me a song, and George too, so do you want to get left out? Do you want to be the only Beatle who didn't contribute? And Paul said, hell no, I'm gonna give you 6 O'Clock. And he composed it for Ringo after Ringo mentioned that he needed a song, right? And I love it. It's again a classic Paul song, and I'm a sucker for Paul songs. Paul is my favorite Beatle, and I love a good Paul ballad. He has many ballads that I love, and this is another one. I think it's overlooked, and it's got a really cool synth solo, which, if I can recall, it's the only time I can remember Paul plays a synth solo in his songs. I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong. Paul has a lot of tunes, but yeah, I can't, on the top of my head here, I can't think about any other song. So please let me know if I'm wrong. But yeah, I love it, and I think it's underrated. So it's number 2. Number 1, you guys probably know what it is, right? And please excuse me while I drink some tea out of my Baby Yoda mug. But anyway, it's Photograph. It's George and Ringo. Ringo also wrote it, so I'm kind of cheating here. Before we start, I just gotta say, George did write another song for this project, which is You and Me, Babe. And it's a song by George with Mal Evans. It's kind of fun, really, this combination. But it's Photograph, right? It's a classic. To me, it's the best Ringo song, Ringo solo song. I really do believe it's one of those rare occasions where a pop song just perfectly comes out, and it's just the most perfect pure form of pop you can imagine. And that's not that's a compliment, really. That's not something bad. On the opposite, really, because oh my god, yeah, a huge motorcycle just came by. But anyway, it's a really a compliment, because it's hard to create a good pop song. It's been done for so many years, so it's hard to create a really catchy one. And Ringo and George, they definitely do that, and they were actually thinking about giving this song to Cilla Black for her to sing, but then Ringo liked it so much, he said, hell no, I'm gonna sing it on my next album and release it as a single, and it was a huge success, right? It's got a bigger band than the other songs, it's got a huge production, and I think it helps. It creates this nostalgic atmosphere, kind of like Penny Lane, but in a totally different way. It's nostalgic like Penny Lane, but it's done in a completely different way, and it's the best one. I'm sorry, but George wins here. George was simply on fire in the beginning of 1970, and that just makes me realize that I need to listen to more George solo stuff. I'm not that well versed in solo George things, especially Dark Horse onwards, up until Traveling Wilburys. Then I know I'm familiar with Traveling Wilburys and Cloud9 and the 80s stuff, but then I kind of didn't, I don't know much about the rest of his work besides those I mentioned, you know, Gun Trouble and Dark Horse and 33 and a Third. I'm not quite versed into it, but it's cool. The Beatles are a huge universe. I can always learn something new, and that's awesome, right? I love Brainwashed though. Brainwashed is great. Anyway, that's it, guys. It's really cool to notice that there was really a cold war between the three Beatles in that sense. I'm sure they all wanted to give out the best song possible for Ringo, because they wanted to try and prove a point that they were the best, right? Maybe the egos play a huge part here, and I feel like George takes the cake here, but 3 songs are great, really. And if you didn't give a chance, please listen to Ringo. It's a great piece of work, right? There are songs by Ringo that I love, like Oh My My, it's a banger, Step Lightly. Oh yeah, George also wrote Sunshine Life for Me. I forgot about that one. I'm really sorry. Anyway, Ringo, the Beatles Cold War. What do you think about that? Please let me know. Please leave a like and subscribe. Goodbye, guys. I'll see you later. Bye.